The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Everybody, and welcome to Triversity Talk. It's Wendy on Wednesday, and I sure am a lot happier than I've been because you know what? I'm broadcasting from New York City, and yesterday it hit 80 degrees in Central Park. How about that? And today was in the 70s, but I can't be too happy because it's going to plummet again by the end of the week. But you know, we're in the month of March, right? In like a lion, out like a lamb. And while I've got you all listening, I want to remind people that this show, Triversity Talk, represents our organization, Triversity, the Pride Center, located in Milford, Pennsylvania, serving the rural areas of New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Tri-state. And the end of the month, we will be having, of course, Transgender Day of Visibility. And I am lost without my calendar, but I think I memorized it for March 31st. So we'll be having speakers, and more details about it, of course, can be found on our website. What I'd also like to share with you is our center does a lot of different programs. And right now we are looking for people, both teens and adults, for a program that we called I Am What I Am. It's for anyone who is LGBTQ and anyone who's an ally. And the program is set up so we have a writing portion and an art portion, and it goes on for 6 weeks, and it's once a week, and you'll get to write things or paint things, or you can even do photography, but something that really describes the essence of who you are and why you are the person that you are. So we're very excited about it. It starts in the beginning of April. Again, for further details, please check out our website, Triversity, the Pride Center, or our Facebook page, Triversity, the Pride Center on Facebook. Okay, I think that's it for me with the announcements. Our guest tonight, I'm always excited to have her on. She's been on a number of times. Actually, every time she writes a book, I love having her on. I love discussing what she's doing. And of course, her books are really quite wonderful, okay? Our guest is a Sapphic award-winning LGBTQ writer, and her newest book is called Framed. And I love the topic. Okay, she must have been looking into a crystal ball because the story is really about big oil, and she's used her background with medical expertise, as she has in her other books, to tell a very riveting story about environment, conspiracies, and a legal battle for justice. Please welcome Patricia Grayhall.
Thank you. That was a lovely introduction.
Well, what can I say? It's absolutely all true, and it's great to have you here tonight. So you have been just on a roll writing, right?
I have. Ever since the pandemic, I have been churning out. Well, not churning, but I have been steadily writing. And
no, you've been steadily writing because you always get in touch with me, and I have a couple of other friends that do also LGBTQ books that started. It was the pandemic. It's amazing because that was such a catalyst for so many people, and in the creative areas, I always love talking about it, but so many people, it's just kind of been swept under the rug. buried. Let's all forget about it. But the amount of writers and artwork that it's no, you know what it's going to be like, Patricia, like the Renaissance, right? In Europe.
Right.
Like hundreds of years from now, they'll look back and they'll go, oh my God, all those writers and artists and musicians that came out of that time. So I'm excited about your newest book. It's about the corruption of big oil.
It is actually. I need to, before I tell you what it's about, I want to give you a little background.
Yes, I'd love it.
As most of my books are, it's inspired by something from my own life. So back in the mid 80s, I worked with a physician, Harvard educated, brilliant guy, for a couple of years, along with, there were three of us in the office. And he was just, as far as I knew, a very fine guy. And he was a very vocal advocate for worker health and safety and the environment. And one day, he, after we had gone our separate ways, because we were working for the government at that time, and this was during the Carter administration, and then Reagan elected, and then, you know, his goal was to wipe out the EPA and OSHA and stuff, not unlike what's going on today. So anyway, he called me one day and said, I've got some disturbing news for you. I spent the weekend in jail. I was arrested for bank robbery. And I was just floored, you know, I just couldn't believe it. I seemed so incompatible with his character. And so those of us who worked with him and knew him as a person of good integrity and,
yeah, of course,
you know, just thought, how could this happen? And one theory that we floated was that perhaps he had just irritated, because he was then in Louisiana. And one theory we floated was perhaps he was set up.
Or he made somebody angry. You know, he teed off somebody and they were going to get back at him.
And he of course made people angry because he was, you know, an advocate for worker health and safety and pointing out, you know, the damage that was being done to lives and the environment by the oil and chemical companies. Anyway, he ultimately was convicted and sent to federal prison solely on the basis of eyewitness testimony without any physical evidence or motive or anything.
Okay, I just have to stop there for a second. This does not even sound remotely legal. The guy was totally framed.
Well, anyway, I'd never, you know, I've lost contact with him. I don't even know if he's alive, and his is not my story to tell. So I made up one based on that experience. And so this book is basically, you know, I have a physician who's located in Houston who's doing a study, seeing patients from the oil and chemical companies there. And she's doing a study that's showing increased cancer rates in the communities surrounding the petrochemical companies. And this is back in the 80s when it wasn't, you know, this was among the first of the studies. And suddenly one day, you know, she's marched off by the FBI and arrested for bank robbery.
So there's your parallel.
Yeah, and her friend is an environmental attorney who had been in Houston interviewing some of the people surrounding the plants in hopes of putting together a mass toxic tort case against the major petrochemical company, World Petro. And so Joe, the environmental attorney, is sure that you know, someone powerful is trying to silence Tori, her physician friend, so that her study doesn't come out because it's the cornerstone of her legal case.
Right.
So this results in a series of events, which, this was my first thriller, and so, you know, I learned the art of putting in twists and surprises and putting my characters into moral dilemmas and making them have to make difficult choices. So it leads to a rather explosive conclusion.
I love that. So so you had to change your writing style somewhat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, I've written memoir and romance, and writing a thriller is completely different. I had, it's a much faster pace. It's, again, I withhold, and thriller readers are very smart. And reading a thriller is a bit like a game. Readers want to figure things out for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I have to reveal a certain amount of information to the reader as we go along. And the character knows some things, and the other character, Joe, the environmental attorney, knows some things, but nobody knows everything.
Right, because you can't give it all away, because there goes your whole story. You have to keep people waiting.
And the page.
And I'm thinking, to get people that would be attracted to this, a lot of the audience would be people that are very seasoned thriller readers.
Right.
So your stakes have got to be high.
Right. So the stakes are high. The stakes are, both of their careers are on the line, both Tori and Joe, the environmental attorney, because her firm is now not at all happy that their prime medical expert has been arrested for bank robbery.
Right.
So, they want her to drop the case. But of course, they're good friends from college, and Joe has no intention of dropping this. She's going to follow it through. For one thing, she feels an obligation to the people who have put their trust in her to seek justice, and also for her friend whose patients are part of the case too. So there's a lot at stake, and also, of course, since I am a romance writer, I had to put some romantic tension in there as well.
Of course,
which adds to the various situations and moral dilemmas. So, and most of my readers at this point are, my readership is beyond the LGBTQ community.
I would know that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the, I have some romance in there. It's relatively light. It adds tension. It's not the main focus. The main focus is the dire situation that the characters are in, and up against Big Oil, who's really trying to put the lid on this whole thing.
Well, okay, let's talk about storytelling, right? And again, I've had a number of LGBTQ writers, because that is now, it's a genre. And for me, I'm betwixt and between having a good story, which to me, does it matter? Like someone's sexuality, like, does that matter?
Yeah.
Or is it important to have LGBTQ characters in the book, because they have been left out of most fiction, as we all know? I've actually done a lot of reading on this. What is your feeling on it as a writer?
Well, I think I had an initial editor who suggested that I limit my readership if I put in this sapphic romantic tension as an underplot. And I decided no. I mean, it's basically having it in there normalizes it. And
thank you. And I absolutely 100% agree. Like, we're talking about people and relationships,
right?
And why on earth would you want to leave that out?
And exactly. So I live in my wife and I are the only same-sex couple in our community. And I floated the book by several of the straight men in my community.
Good for you.
I figured they'd be some of my harshest critics. Well, I got nothing but, good response from them. I guess that's not too surprising since they know and like me, but the Sapphic tension in there didn't seem to bother them at all. So,
well, it's, the Sapphic tension is real. You're talking about two women that are involved with each other. And I think all of these books have to do with reality of people's relationships. And
right,
people's relationships can be of same sex. I love what you said earlier. They should be normalized. I think I
exactly.
told you on my other afternoon show, If These Walls Could Talk, I had on a lesbian comedian, and she talks about her wife all the time. But I
Mhm.
said to her, do you have to, like, if you're in New York or LA, that's cool, but like,
Right.
what if you go to some small town in between? I said, do you tailor your information? She told me she slightly changes the order of it. She
Hmm.
doesn't hit like in her opening about her and her wife, although that is largely what her material is.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about how do we get acceptance out there? People have been so judgmental, again, especially now, right? Horrific.
Yeah,
Like,
the I was somewhat inspired by there's several television series that have been on Netflix and
yeah,
Prime that have been thriller oriented and where the main characters have, they're involved with a woman, and that's not the main plot, but it is there,
right.
and it is a factor, and that's true in my book too. It's not, I mean, there's nothing explicit or anything, but there is involvement and emotional feeling, um, and um, and so I think that the more that we have those kinds of things out there, and I hope it doesn't disappear just because, Ellison has taken over Warner Brother, you know,
Right.
um, I hope that there's still diverse representation.
Well, you mentioned Netflix, which is unfortunately for me, because I'm a performer, I come in at like 11 or 12 at night,
Yeah,
and it's really bad because I will binge, and then it's 5 o'clock in the
yeah,
morning. Okay. However, a lot of the things I watch on Netflix, the European shows, whether they're in Norway or take place in the UK, they have lots of same-sex couples in there. It's it's a totally accepted thing. So to your point, even with Warner Brothers involvement now, they would lose a huge amount of content.
yeah, I think so. And, as I said, I think that the more that LGBTQ people can see themselves represented in art, the better, because we all want to see ourselves in stories, right?
Right, exactly. But that's how things are in the world, though.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't care where you go. There's same-sex couples, whether people want to accept that or not. That is very much a reality. And it is more of a reality than ever because so much had happened, to raise the bar.
Hmm.
Everything was going really great, and then it wasn't. But
Yeah.
if we don't get out there and have people like you tell those stories, or the filmmakers, if we don't use our
Mhm.
art for communication, we cannot get the point across. And you used the word earlier on, normalize. I'm
Right.
constantly struggling when people talk to me because of my involvement in the LGBTQ scenarios.
Hmm.
I don't know how to normalize for them trans. It's constantly comes up a lot, even in the gay community. I have to tell you, I'm people ask me questions. They're gay, and their lack of compassion or understanding of what transgender is, and it makes it hard because to me, at this stage of the game, why are we having to do this anymore? What has it got to do with the price of eggs? I say that all. I really feel that way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel that way about so many things lately.
Right.
uh,
Right.
for sure.
How do you think your background, your medical background, really prepared you for this career in writing? What has pivoted you in terms of the books you're writing, coming from a medical background?
Well, I think what it prepared me for was certainly not. It didn't teach me anything about creative craft, but it certainly taught me how to do hard things. And writing is hard. You know, it takes discipline. It takes keeping your butt in the chair,
Right.
and it takes receiving critical feedback when it, in the process, and it takes, a persistent desire to learn
Yeah.
and improve the craft. So that's basically what I try to do, and my perspicacity, I guess, as a from the same character traits that allowed me to succeed in medicine, I think, are allowing me to learn to write well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But again, the challenge, I admire that you took this on. You started this later in life.
Mhm.
And
When I
you
was 70.
right. Well, yeah, I didn't know your age. I just know you started
Yeah.
later in life. And, we all know those sayings, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I have friends that just want to go golf somewhere. Not that there's anything wrong with golfing, but that's what they want to do. What is it within you that made you want to take this path and become a writer?
Well, I always have to have a project.
You have to have
I
a
can't.
project. Me
I
too.
had I had retired gradually, and then I was teaching at the local med school part-time, and then during the pandemic I stopped because it just didn't work. So then I have to do something that challenges me.
Right.
Teaching challenged me. This writing challenges me. I'm constantly learning. I just in March, I'm taking a class on writing interiority, and uh, and it's very stimulating. It keeps my brain active.
Right.
Today's my birthday. I turned
Oh,
76.
right. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, hopefully this will keep me in good stead, and even if my knees give out, and
Stop.
I could still write.
That's really funny. It's this week, like I think I had the flu. My joints were hurting. Like what? And then of course my nemesis is ChatGPT. I go on there and put in all my symptoms
Oh
because
no.
it's way easier to use than Google, just in terms of getting information. The problem is it keeps asking you questions to try and get to the core of it. And by the time it was done with me, I'm like, oh my God, I have rheumatoid arthritis. How could this be? I'm going to Portugal the end of April. It's got cobblestone streets. I'm going to have to be walking up.
Oh, I know. It's easy to catastrophize.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah,
And
that's why it's not a good idea to
no,
do
it's
that.
not a good idea. You know what? I took 2 a leave, and by this afternoon I was fine. Whatever was going on, I'm back to normal. But what I love about you at this stage of your life, you're writing books and creating characters that people can certainly read and relate to, and that's like really, really important. Do you ever hit stumbling blocks as a writer where your brain shuts down, and like you have to be incredibly disciplined to do this, but you can't? They call it writer's block, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm in a stage at the moment where I am I've published 4 books, and between 2022 and now.
Right.
The other one I haven't talked about on your show, but I wrote it with my wife. It's a romance and
Right.
called Golden Years and Silver Linings, and it continues to do well. And I think, you know, I'm sort of in a stage now where I've genre hopped. I've gone from memoir to romance to thriller, and I'm just taking a little break to try to figure out what to do next. But you know, various ideas come to me in the pool.
I love it.
Yeah, but you know, you know, it's one thing to have lots of ideas, but actually to create a story arc out of them is you know, I have to wait for inspiration sometimes.
So what inspires you? I mean, do you have to journal your thoughts down when you're thinking of them? Like, how do you get inspired?
Sometimes I talk to my wife about it, who also writes. She writes romance and you know, occasionally I'll just start writing, and I'll just say, okay, well, I have no idea where this is going, but I'm just going to write a scene.
Yeah.
And I did that actually, and it turned into a short story, which I then offer for free on my website. It's called Justice, and I use the same characters, Joe, the environmental attorney that
it is in Framed.
Mm-hmm. But this one is even earlier. It's in 1978. It's in Idaho, and the smelter there that was operating at the time was requiring women to become sterilized in order to work at the plant because of the high lead exposure.
Wow.
And this is actually true because
that was my next question. Yeah, wait, this actually happened?
Yeah, because I actually went out there and interviewed those women.
And this was what, the late 70s?
This was in 1978. Yeah.
Late 70s. Wow.
Yeah, late 70s. So that's kind of the nucleus of the story. I mean, it's a totally made up story, except for that aspect of it.
But
yeah.
Patricia, you know, that's a whole story in itself. Well,
it is.
So I hear of a lot of stuff. I have a lot of people on this show that are writers, entertainers, filmmakers. I have not heard one inkling about it. That is actually a great subject for a screenplay. Nobody's taken it. That happened. That actually happened.
Yeah, it did. And actually, you know, it's in the public record because it was OSHA made it a general duty clause citation. That company was shut down, and now it's one of the largest Superfund sites in the nation.
Right. So people are getting cancer that live near there. Is that where that
is? I mean, the main concern was lead poisoning, and there was also arsenic and cadmium, and but the whole surrounding community was polluted, and there was no salvaging actually the company at that time.
Wow.
So
wow. Amazing. Well, I look at environmentally what's going on now, and most people don't realize that the first term there were a lot of bad bills put through. Then Biden got in and rolled them, you know, all back to where they should be. And now not only have they been dumped, there's even more attacks going on the environment in the worst possible time. Did any of this influence you writing this book now?
I actually, well, some. I mean, I'm very disturbed by there's the fact that no one is sitting at the climate desks anymore. You know, the scientists are gone. The people implementing alternatives to fossil fuels are all wiped out. You know, it's tragic, really. And I'm just, in a way, thinking about the oil prices going up with this stupid, unnecessary war that's going on.
It's incredible. You wrote this book before
Yeah, before
everything
that.
you wrote about it was like you could look
But-
into the future.
Yeah, but just thinking that, perhaps this will inspire red states and blue states to, do some ground, just local level stuff to
Right.
to create alternative sources of energy, which I think is actually going on. I think people are still trying to, face or look toward renewable energies.
Renewable energy sources. And I can tell you, you hit the nail on the head when you said on a local level, because I think I've shared with you, I'm a member of the Explorers Club. There's 3,700 people in the world. And if people come to New York, I'm the one that gives the tours through our building. But part of my talk is because people come in and I start talking about climate change and, they roll their eyes like we're done. And I try and explain to people we're not done. I have literally heard people come and some of our speakers at the club, they're working on incredible things. And it's not just the few that are at the club. There's a whole brand of science out there, that is working to find solutions, going to the darkest depths of the ocean, to the Mariana Trench. Okay. There's people that are working on climate there's a project where they're sending balloons up into the atmosphere to sample to see if we can reduce CO2 that way. There's a lot of stuff being done. There's a lot of smart people that want this to be looked at and a solution to be found.
Right. It's just that it won't be led by the government. It'll
Right.
be impeded by the government, but
Right.
It'll have to be done on the ground, local
Well,
level.
and here's how I feel about government. Nothing is permanent. I do feel that we have where we are now is so scary. I won't allow myself to believe that we're going to be in that place after the next elections. I don't know, because I don't know about the rest of the country. I'm out in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. I hear stuff there. I'm based out of New York, and the people I have on my shows, it's like preaching to the converted.
Sure, of
Right?
course.
Right. But I have absolute hope, and I share that with people all the time. And you're right. It has to happen at what I call a grassroots
Right.
level.
Exactly.
You're out on the West Coast. It's there's a lot of people doing a lot of things out there as well.
True. Absolutely.
Now I have to ask you, in your book, do you deal with any people getting cancer from any of this?
Well, I did in my practice, which I am retired from, but
Right.
the Tori, the physician in the book, had a practice very much like mine, where, I did see people who were exposed to toxic substances, both in the workplace and the environment. And some of those people suffered from cancer, but also many other things, neurological conditions or,
Wow.
rashes, dermatitis. Really, there's a whole range of things that.
You saw a lot of that.
Yeah. So I used to see and treat those people. So I used that scenario. The first few chapters of the book is basically the physician seeing some patients, which would be very much like I used to do.
It's great that you have been able to bring your medical background into your writing.
Yeah, I mean, probably more so in this book than the others. Yeah. Although the memoir had a lot of
exactly
scenes from my training.
So if you can, for people that are just catching the show and haven't seen you on the other shows, can we just briefly go through some of your books?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, Making the Rounds.
So Making the Rounds was my first book and my most difficult book to write. It covered a period of my late adolescence and my 20s. During that time, I came out as lesbian. I had I had an abortion in Mexico before it was legal, before, Roe.
Oh.
And I also got into medical school before Title IX guaranteed equal access of women to education. So,
Pivotal time.
and so in my class, I had 95 men and 5 of us were women. And it was in a very conservative state. So, I basically, I'm talking about a two-braided situation about the progress of my career and dealing with the toxic masculinity of the medical culture at that time.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many female doctors now, but
Right. There wasn't there was one at that time for me. There was one physician, a psychiatrist, who didn't do me any favors by telling me I was too competitive.
you have to play nice when you're playing with the big boys.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Play nice.
So,
Did you get overt resentment from?
Oh, I did definitely. There's a scenario in the book about my clash with one of the ICU nurses who wanted to make my life miserable. But I had a mixed experience. I mean, I certainly had supporters, and I surrounded myself with people that I trusted,
Of course.
who I could be myself with, who I could, come out to and also trust in terms of my career. So, but certainly there were barriers that I had to overcome. So the book is about that, but it also was, at that time, it was the 70s, it was the second wave feminism and the sexual revolution and all that stuff. And there were a lot of political lesbians. And
yeah, there were.
And it was really difficult to find a stable relationship,
right?
Especially given the fact that I worked 80 hours a week and had no time.
That would have something to do with it.
Right. But also, it just, there was I had no role models of people who had been together for a long time, because those people were all in the closet somewhere, and I didn't know any of them.
Right.
So that's the other braid of that narrative. And then my partner was very upset with me with sitting with my back to her during the pandemic, writing about my old girlfriends. So I suggested we write a book together.
Right. Which is smart.
Well, no, actually, it was fun.
Yeah, so that's a smart thing to do. It's collaborative.
Right.
Okay, it's about trusting each other.
And so she understood the lure of writing, which she now does on her own. And so we wrote Golden Years and Silver Linings.
Silver Linings.
Yeah.
And it's a later in life romance.
It is. It is. Right. And then I decided my wife and I immigrated to Canada because there was no country in which we could live in legally. And that was quite an experience. So that served as the inspiration for a novel. So it's not really a memoir, but the immigration experience that we had trying to find a country we could live in and ultimately immigrating to Canada.
Right.
All that part is very much from my life, our life. And the other parts of it are there to add, drama. But, I couldn't really do another memoir. It's like walking naked out into the world.
Well, I was going to ask you, is it painful?
It was because, you have to be honest, and otherwise, readers that can't relate to you if you're just presenting all the good stuff about yourself. So I had to, present myself as the flawed person I was at that time, and really had to be in character, even though now, this person that I was in my 20s bears little relationship to how I am now.
Right.
But and going back and really kind of having to live through all that again was hard. So I think that's my one and only memoir. Um, so I
It's
think,
interesting that you landed on both feet. You've had from the time you were in medical school, your tenacity, your determination, and your realization of your own self-worth. Those are just such incredible attributes, and they are a running theme in your books.
yeah, as you know, perseverance and resilience absolutely are running themes. And, I don't really know how I got that way. It could be something to do with my mother, who was pretty persistent and
Your
resilient.
mother was persistent, or and they always say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and you just kept going no matter what. And even as a doctor in such a male dominated field, when you chose
Mhm.
that profession, dealing with environmentally caused diseases, that's also really controversial.
Oh, it is controversial, right? There's a lot of conflict involved. Someone's always mad at you.
Right.
Whether-
Did
whether-
anyone ever threaten you?
Um, well, um, nobody's physically threatened me, but
No one physically threatened
people
you.
have said, not nice things to me.
You have to let them roll off of you like
Yeah.
water, right?
Right, right.
Well, you're such a inspiration for writers. I'd love to know, do you do writing workshops for women to kind of share the gift that you have?
I have actually. I did a memoir workshop at the Pacific Northwest Writers Conference, and also on Story Circle Network, and that was an online class. And so I've done that, and then now more quietly, I guess I've joined a writers collective here locally where I am, um, and I find myself sort of nurturing writers who are just beginning or just starting to write their memoir.
Right.
So I'm doing more of that now. I uh, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's fun for me. I love doing book clubs, and I like teaching, and I enjoy, passing along knowledge that I've learned.
Well, that's totally wonderful. Why do it unless you can, as I say, pay it forward? Have you, and to your knowledge, are there college courses where they are teaching now LGBTQ literature?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, I'm so far removed from college at this point. Um, you know, there must be, because there's some really good literature out there,
Yeah.
and some of it is getting, well, acclaim, quite a bit of acclaim. I just read a book called Safe Keep by a Dutch author, Von Wooden or something, that was just incredible, and very literary, and has many reviews, and I love to see that. And some of this stuff, and even Atmosphere, that Taylor Jenkins Reid, that has thousands and thousands of readers and reviews. I mean, there's these stories are entering mainstream, and so
Right.
it wouldn't surprise me if some of them are chosen as literary examples for college students.
Yeah, and you know what? The fact that they're entering mainstream, we are in a time of dichotomy, okay, where books are being banned in school that shouldn't be banned. There's no
Mhm.
reason why they should be, and they're being banned. And
Right.
yet we have a plethora of wonderful LGBTQ writers now all over the world.
Right.
Okay, so I always say to people, before we let all this get us down and we give up in our heads and we focus on gloom and doom, we really
Mhm.
have to remember that. I don't have to tell you the amount of LGBTQ book conferences and
Mhm.
that are happening all over. I know because friends of mine are doing them. I'm like, well, isn't that the other side of the coin? Isn't
Yeah.
that great?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's Golden Golden Crown Literary Society. It's Sapphic authors of Sapphic literature, and Saints and Sinners. Is a conference that's been going on in New Orleans for quite some time. So there are a lot of literary conferences devoted to LGBTQ literature, and it's great. I mean, it's wonderful to physically go be with other authors and interact and
Absolutely. I would imagine it's like just very, very stimulating. Now, when you do like book signings and book readings, I'm sure you have Q&As. What kind of questions do people ask that are something that you might never have thought of?
Oh, hmm. Oh gosh, that's
There has to be the one crazy question that somebody in the audience will ask.
uh, well, I guess one of those. What does your wife think of, what did your wife think of your memoir? I guess.
Well, right, and right.
And,
That's a
and,
really great question.
yeah. So, what she thought of it was that she didn't want to read it. She
Right.
said, she said, I like the end result. I love the end result. I don't need to know the recipe.
Love that. That's a quote and a half. I
Yeah.
hope if you're interviewed, you give them that. But you know what? That is very common in people that have written memoirs, and if you talk
Mhm.
to their partners, and it doesn't matter if it's LGBTQ or not. Okay,
Right.
that is a very common emotion, and it's funny because when I wrote my book, She's the Last Model Standing, my daughter was in her early 20s and wouldn't go near it with a 10-foot pole and
No,
didn't want
'cause-
to know any of that. And then
right.
she turned 30 and she picked it up.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? And I never, by the way, pushed her or said, how can you? Even my sister said to me, how come Kyle hasn't read the book? I'm like, it's not her cup of tea. Maybe it's too much information about her mom. And by the way, there wasn't anything pornographic or anything like that in
Right.
there. But you know what? She just didn't want to know. She had to become 30 to
Yeah.
make it okay. And ironically enough, she also writes now,
Uh-huh.
and she studied writing. She went to Smith, and now
Uh-huh.
she's writing her own story. And she said to me, Mom, there's a lot of stuff about you and Dad in there. And I said, I don't want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just a word of advice to people writing memoir is, don't show your tender writings to, the people involved while you're still writing it. You can, if you want, share stuff with them after you're finished. But
Sure.
yeah, so I mean, I chose in my memoir all of the women and men that I was still in touch with. I sent them what I wrote about them.
Right.
I didn't change anything.
And they're all still your friends?
They are.
Okay, I lost a girlfriend over my book, and I changed her name, and I wrote nothing bad about her.
I know.
Maybe she didn't think it was so great.
Well, people bring their own emotions and biases to a book, and once it's out there, it's no longer yours. It's it's whatever they imprint upon it.
Absolutely. So, how do people find your book?
Oh, well, they're in bookstores and libraries, and except for Golden Years, which is only on Amazon, and Framed. I'll show you.
Let's
Framed
see.
is
Great.
yeah. Did I
That came out January 20th?
It came out January 20th, and it's available, of course, on Amazon, but also through bookstores and libraries. And I know it's already in some of in the Seattle libraries and stuff.
Fabulous.
And I just finished reviewing the narrative, the audio of the audiobook, which sounds great. I love the narrator. It's Abby Craden, and she has a wonderful, sultry voice.
Right. Audiobooks are great for people because they can read them while they're driving,
Yeah, or listen.
Much easier for them. Well, I can't believe our time has come to an end. I am so excited for your newest book. Basically, one a year. You've been writing one a year. And who knows what next year will bring? I was thinking in my head, what genre haven't I heard? Horror or science fiction? There you go.
You'll never see that from me.
That's not you, right?
That's not me. No.
That's
I like realism.
Right. But I'm sure your mind is churning about what your next book is going to be, right?
It is indeed.
Well, I always take a picture at the end. So right to the camera. Okay, there we go. Thank you for reaching out to me when you did. I'm like, oh my God, Patricia Grayhall has another book.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, always a pleasure. And I can't wait for the next one. I know the ideas are probably already spinning around in your head. I can tell by your expression, even doing this on StreamYard, I can see your face. You're already planning the next one.
Well, thank you for your confidence.
I have my confidence in you. You have so much to bring to the party. We need you. We need strong women writers with a voice. We need strong LGBTQ writers,
Oh, we certainly do.
Let's do it. Thank you again. And you have a good night. Take care.
Right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.